Hello, everyone, and welcome to A2I Dyslexia live show, all things dyslexia. How are you all feeling this evening? We're in London. It's 7 p.m., or should I say it's 2 minutes past 7. We are a little bit 2 minutes late in joining you live. Big apologies for that. Just a little bit of technical hitch, but we've managed to solve that problem. So I want to welcome everybody to A2I Dyslexia live show, all things dyslexia. My name is Elizabeth Techi. I'm the CEO and the founder of A2I Dyslexia. We bring you this live show every Monday, just to kind of Mondays rather than Monday, to kind of engage with community and talk about some of the things that hinders us, one, as dyslexics, to kind of unlock our full potential, some of the challenges we go through, and again, some of the positive things that dyslexics have. So today's show is titled Dyslexia and Mental Wellbeing during COVID-19. We have done a similar show to this title, but today's live show is completely different. We have an amazing guest speaker who's got a lived experience of dyslexia. She also have a lived experience with mental health, and also she worked in a mental health professional remit. So who better to come on a show than someone who's got three of those, one, a lived experience of having dyslexia condition, and all the others that I have mentioned. Now, today I have the amazing and wonderful Mercy G, who she's just got so much knowledge in mental health and all the other things that surrounded mental health. And today we're speaking about mental well-being, but we couldn't talk about mental well-being without talking about mental health and all the support that we all need to kind of unlock our full potential or to thrive in work or our well-being in general. Now, without further ado, I'd like to welcome Mercy G, who is actually going to tell you a little bit about her background. But before she comes on, I want to read a little bit about Mercy's background and just kind of get a feel of what she does exactly. And I think she's such a phenomenal young lady who has impacted so many lives over the course of the years. So who is Mercy G, one may ask? So she's a mental health professional with her career spanning from cleaner and domestic carer to well-established senior manager within community care and support sector, as well as advocacy. Mercy G has 23 years experience working within this sector and specializes in mental health over the last 15 years. She has overseen the management of high-end mental health care quality commissioners, supported housing services and advocacy services in over 10 London boroughs, and has mentored and coached many to reach their professional and career ambitions and goals. Currently, she's studying a degree in health and social care. Mercy is dyslexic and was diagnosed at the age of 20. Mercy, welcome to A2I Dyslexia live show.
Hi.
Hello, how are you?
I am blessed. I am good. I'm feeling good.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for coming on to A2I Dyslexia live show, all things dyslexia. I've been trying to get hold of you for many, many, many years, and I eventually got a hold of you and thought, right, I've got to do this finally. Now, I'm going to give you the opportunity to tell our viewers about who you are and why you're passionate about supporting people with their mental well-being.
So, hey everyone, it's really nice to be on this platform. I always find it an honor to be able to, come and speak and to share, because we're all individuals and we never know what's going on and people are busy. And I think sometimes it's hard to just take time aside and connect and talk and find out what's going on with who. And I'd like to say thank you, Liz, for inviting me. You've been a good sister. I would say there are friends and there are people who are friends that you call sisters. And you're one of the ones that I'd say is a big sis, and who's never kind of given up, or you're always checking up on me and what's going on for Mercy. So thank you. I acknowledge you today. And so just a bit about myself. Yes, I am dyslexic, and I only found out I was dyslexic when I was going into university. And I always knew there was something wrong. You just struggle in school and maths doesn't make sense and numbers are all jumbled up and it's like something somewhere is not right. But I never knew definitely until I was actually trying to do my midwifery. And after they did the test, they said, "Oh, you've got dyslexia and you need this support and that support." And that in itself just blew my mind. I was like, "Oh, this is confusing." So that's my kind of learning background. But in terms of my career, I've always been somebody who wants to make a difference, or in the little corner that I'm in, do something more than my job role desires. And so I did start off actually cleaning, and it was cleaning mental health services. And I was trying to raise the money to get back to Ghana. So just so you guys know, I am Ghanaian, despite my accent. I've got lots of different accents. They might come out today if you're good. You might hear the African woman, you might hear the Jamaican woman, you might get a big pick and mix bag. But yeah, I started, having more of an interest in mental health, and I was just 18 at the time when I started kind of working in the field and doing care work and things like that. And I just found so many discrepancies in the way people were working, and people were doing the job for doing its sake. And I kind of thought, this can't be right. And, my background is that I've been in an environment, thank God for my parents and the environment that I've been in, but it wasn't always conducive. And so because the environment wasn't always conducive for various reasons, it meant that I had to develop ways in which I could be a bit more independent. And in that, I kind of delved deeper into mental health. As much as I did elderly and learning disabilities, mental health was like my main interest, because I felt like, okay, I can connect to how people think and why things are going wrong. And today we're going to actually go into the different types of mental health. So there are things that are very clinical, and things that people are born with, chemical imbalances, and there are things that are circumstantial. So because of what you've been through, you develop mental health issues, and so that's where we'll kind of distinguish the difference between mental well-being, which everybody has as long as you have well-being, and mental health illnesses. We'll kind of have a discussion about what's the difference, like why do people say there's a difference between the two of those things. So in the last 23 years, I've managed to go from cleaning mental health services to managing mental health services in various boroughs, as you've said. And not just that, but also managing managers of services. So not just the one service that I'm in charge of, but actually being able to impact other services across London and some outside London. So it's been a real privilege. It always humbles me because you're dealing with people in itself on top of the individuals that you're caring for. So that's a bit about me. Got lots of different streaks to me as well, being a dyslexic person. I think we're very diverse. I think that's something about dyslexic people generally. There's a lot of art and creativity that comes out of us. So I find myself dabbling into other bits and pieces.
Wonderful. Now, we've known each other for over 20 years. It's been quite some time. Yeah, we've known each other for some time.
Yeah.
Now, I would never have guessed you had dyslexia, and you would never have guessed I had dyslexia when we first met. Is it the first time you're publicly speaking about this in terms of dyslexia?
I think in terms of a platform like this, yes. Sometimes I tend to throw it out there, it's because I'm dyslexic. So yes, on a public platform. And I think it's good you actually said it that way, because we don't talk about certain things within our community or within the family. There's just some things that we just don't talk about. And I believe that narrative is slowly changing as time is going on, because people are recognizing that actually we need to talk about life, and this is what it is. It's part of who people are, what people are, whether they have dyslexia, whether they have dyspraxia, whether they have autism, whether they've been through abuse, whether they've been through whatever it is. It's the makeup of the individuals that you'll meet in your day-to-day life. So why not talk about what's made them what you see, rather than trying to brush it under the carpet when you meet someone that's broken, and what do we mean by broken? Who just doesn't have confidence, or who doesn't think much of themselves, or they don't want to do things in their lives. What has put that person in that predicament, or made them who they are? Some people think negatively, and there's nothing good can come out of them or anybody else. And we need to have an understanding as to how our brain works and why we are the way we are. And so until we embrace all things about individuals, we're not going to get anywhere. So I think that's a really good kind of way to look at it. Yes, although the platform hasn't been there for me to speak publicly, I think it's time we talk about all the things that needs to be talked about.
Absolutely. Now, I just want to welcome our viewers. I think someone, the producer kind of put someone on there, which is kind of disappeared. There we go. Is that Helen? Maybe?
Hi, Helen. Hey, that's my twinnie.
Oh, wonderful. So I just want to welcome all the viewers and, for thank them for joining us. And if they've got any questions or any comments or anything, obviously, as we're speaking, they can drop their comments and questions. And from time to time, I will read out what other people have put there, because without the viewers, there is no show. And we really have to acknowledge that it's amazing to have them engage in our show today. Now, Messi, you've had a lived experience with mental health, haven't you?
Yes, so that might come as a shock to some people, because all they see is
exactly. Yeah.
So that might come as a shock.
Yeah, I've had my fair share of depression and anxiety, and again, it will come as a shock to many people, because we put on a mask, don't we, and we smile, and it's so great, but really
That's right. That's right.
And that's why I feel it's really important that you're here today to share your lived experience, something that we barely speak about within the Black or Ghanaian community.
Yeah, I mean, I really thank God that now it is becoming more of a topic in the Black community. A couple of years back, shout out to Doyinola, it's her birthday today. She did something within the UK Nollywood industry about mental health within an event that she did. I have sisters like Helen and yourself who are bringing these topics and issues up a bit more and more. And, just a few days ago, I spoke to Pastor Ernest, so one of the pastors that pastor in the church that we used to attend. And again, he was kind of saying the same thing, mental health in the church, it's something that we don't talk about, but people are going through some stuff. A lot of people are struggling and suffering, and we're so busy, putting on the mask and trying to pretend like it's cool when it ain't that cool and it's not nice. But yeah, I do think it's something that we do need to discuss. And my lived experience has been purely because of life experiences. And so when we talk about mental health, like I said, some things are because of the conditions that you've been in or things that you've experienced that you don't have control over. And that can cause the onset of things like depression or personality disorder, depending on how young you've been introduced to an environment that's not conducive to meet your needs.
So share with me some of those experiences that you went through with is it a mental health or mental breakdown? What's the difference between the two?
So your mental, okay, so let's just clarify. Have we got some slides up? Let's just so that we can do the intro to mental health. So I've got a few slides that will kind of help explain that a little bit. And there is a difference between mental health, which is something everybody has, and mental illness. Okay, so mental health in itself. If we could just go to the next slide, and we'll have an overview of what we will be covering today. So we're going to have a general discussion. We're not going to go through all of this. I've already kind of talked about my background, and if there are questions, please bring them in, because I'm going to try and make this as engaging as possible. It's not about me. It's about, the questions that you're going to bring to the table. So mental well-being, mental health, what is common mental health illnesses. So we'll go through a little bit of that and have a discussion about that. And in that, we'll focus on things like the depressions and also the learning disabilities, the stresses that can have an impact as well on your mental health. If we just go to the next one very quickly. Please call in. I'm really looking forward to hearing from you guys. So I have this kind of board here. I don't know if everyone at home can see this as well, but I've heard this so many times. You might have said it yourself or heard someone saying it. I feel like I'm going mental, I've got mental health problems. What does that mean when you hear that? I'm losing my mind. I mean, how many times I can't, the amount of times I've said, look, I really feel, on a serious note, I mean, we say it in jokes, but also when things are really coming down on you, like, I just feel like I'm losing my mind. And I'm struggling with my mental health. So these are things that you might hear in and around. What does that mean? What does that mean for me? What does that mean for you? Let's just move on as I'm talking. So this is what I'm going to just say, and I'm not going to read off this because I know the difference. So your mental health is the state of mind that you're in. Your mental health is, everybody has a level of health. So as long as you use the word health, like you can say physical health, mental health, all these, as long as that health word is there, it's just about your condition, your condition as it is. So we all have mental health, every single one of us. The difference is the way in which you process things and the way in which you're able to deal with things. Okay, so I don't know if that's my background or someone else's background. I can hear some talking. My dyslexia does mean I get easily distracted. So, sorry. Okay, so yeah, so your ability to be able to keep your mind in good shape, just like you would physical health, like you go and exercise and you go to the gym so that you can keep your physique looking tight. It's the same. It works the same with them when you say mental health as well. It's about what do you do to exercise your brain to keep it healthy, to get rid of the things that are not good, like you would when you're exercising. I'm getting rid of the fat. I'm getting rid of the toxins. I'm detoxing. All that is health. Okay, well, I might need to get rid of some thoughts that I'm having, or I might need to take something to better process what's going on for me. So that's mental health. Everybody has that. Okay, so you're able to, good mental health, you're able to deal with tough situations, you're able to accept others and get on with your own life, and you're able to have a level of self-acceptance, and all those things helps you be better. It's like that's good mental health. The opposite is not. Okay, so I don't know if I can be any clearer than that. So we're talking about mental health in itself. Health is health. It's how you keep your mind healthy.
Yeah. So just before we go back to the slides, tell me some of the experiences or the how it felt for you when you were going through the mental, would I say mental health or mental? I get confused between all of them. What were you going through at the time? Is it a mental health or mental illness?
So, or I would say the point that it becomes illness is when you need clinical intervention.
No.
Okay, or medical intervention, because then you're going from your mental health, which everyone has mental health, because you've got a mind, to an illness or a condition. So the illness part of it is when you require medication no matter what. It's like those with things like schizophrenia, bipolar, personality disorder. Those are mental illnesses, okay? But when you're talking about mental health, if someone's had a mental health breakdown, sometimes that is purely because there's been a life situation that has caused them to not be able to cope. Don't know if you remember in the slides that I showed you before, they're not able to cope with the challenges that they're facing, and it's so overwhelming that it causes their mind to start processing things differently. You become, you cry more, you don't want to live, you don't understand why things are happening, you don't think you can get through the next day, you can't even see past the next hour. That's when you're having a mental health breakdown. And one could say that is also when you're starting to see the signs of depression. And the clinical side of clinical depression is when it's an ongoing thing, something that's always recurring. If you feel certain ways, you're down, you don't want to talk, draw the curtains, you're pretending to the world. So there are people that are depressed. So let's talk about my experience. During secondary school, I'll start with that. Some people may not have known, but moving schools was a stress for me. And one thing we don't teach in schools, but we're starting to understand that we need to teach, is about dealing with your emotions. Undealt with emotions, or emotions that you do not address, that can cause you to feel a certain way, will and can lead to depression, can lead to you developing mental health illnesses. So, for example, let's start from school. As a school child, I would go to school. Everybody would think, I've got good shape, I'm broad, I'm thick, I smile a lot. Everybody would think I'm okay, and I can take what they're dishing out. But actually, when I was in school, I used to be somewhat bullied, and I've got some of my school friends that said they'll join in today, and they didn't realize that, talking about your skin tone, or talking about my shape, or I used to have like tree trunk. I'd even say it myself, tree trunk legs, and I didn't think I was the same as the other girls. I was quite masculine, and and I'm not ugly, but I thought to myself that you're not that as nice as those other girls, and that in itself, and all the other issues that were happening, caused me to go into a depression that nobody recognized. And I think that was the first time I kind of realized something's wrong here. And at that point, when so many things were happening, I didn't feel like I wanted to be alive. And I remember during my school days in secondary school, especially the latter part, struggling with studying. And then I didn't know I was dyslexic. I couldn't understand maths. It was such an issue. The most simplest calculations were just like, I've shut down. Sorry, I can't, I'm not hearing this. And I was experiencing depression. And although I had suicidal thoughts, and again, we're talking about this on a serious level because a lot of us now have teenagers and young people, and we don't realize some of the influences that may not necessarily be in the home, but the external influences. And I just wanted to end life because I didn't know how to deal with emotions. I would smile and brush them under the carpet, but behind the scenes, I was very sad, and I wouldn't let anybody see that. The more I kept it away, the more it was like, okay. I tried. I think on one occasion, this is an exclusive. On one occasion, I actually took some tablets as a teenager because things just felt like I can't deal with this. This is too much. And when I took the tablets, I just fell into a very heavy sleep, felt very tired, and I thought, gosh, I can't even do that right. I can't even, I laugh about it now, but looking back, if you do not have the tools to be able to cope with life stresses, because everybody has them, you do run the risk of developing depression, and you do run the risk of it becoming clinical because you don't have the tools to be able to deal with the things that come at us that causes stresses on whatever levels. And we can
yeah, I guess this is why it's so important to talk about, mental health and dyslexia and all those things that it's seen or frowned upon, or people see as shame.
Yeah.
Because having a platform like this, having a platform that you deliver some amazing workshops recently on mental health, and I just think it's really, really important. And how I can even keep going on about this, particularly within the last year of lockdowns and COVID-19 and unprecedented times, and all the fear and anxiety and all the things that, we are all going through. Everybody's going through something. And I just think it's really, really important that we have that voice to be able to speak to someone and go and get help. Because now I'm listening to you. I've known you for many years, and I would never have thought that is this what this is going through. And
it's hard because people look at everyone knows I've got like a mafia family. I've got a big family, and they won't let me fall. As many times as I have kind of felt very challenged sometimes. People see the strength that comes out simply because I've been able to, work in the field, and I recognize some of these things. And so I know where and how to get help, and I'm not apologetic about that. I think a lot of us in this community, we don't know how to reach out and accept help, or even accept that we have a problem. Right now, people, if you knew what I was going through, even just last year, obviously I've just had a little boy, and so that in itself comes with its own stresses. And you hear women going through prenatal, postnatal depression, and it's simply because the things in life are so challenging for you that you don't have the tools, or you can't pull on the tools to be able to keep well. And that's all it is. And people have been through some stuff. People are going through some real challenges, and it's when I give an ear to friends, and sometimes people say, oh, I've got a friend, can you speak to her, she's feeling this way or that way, and I just speak to random people as well. And it's heartbreaking to think that there are people that are out there and they feel alone, they can't talk to anybody, and sometimes we bring it on ourselves. I know for me, a lot of my depressive episodes to some degree have been not self-inflicted, but I could have got help sooner and I didn't, because I just wanted to keep this facade that I'm okay, I'm good. Look at me, I dress good, I can do my makeup. I didn't want anyone to feel my pain or to feel for me or to be upset by the things that I'm going through. So I kept it from them. And that's just a personality thing. That's just as a person, I want everyone to be okay. I'd probably be a hippie if I could, make love, not war.
Of course. I've known you for many years, and you've always been the one that, I would come to you if I needed someone to talk to, because that's you. Mercy's always going to open her doors to people, not literally, but if you need help, she's there for you. And to know that you were going through the challenges yourself, and you reach out for help, which is the most important thing.
I did reaching out for help. I did like very late. I mean, let me tell you what really kind of got me to reach out for help. And when I realized that actually this is something that needs to be addressed. I was managing a mental health service, and it was men and women with high mental health needs. And on one occasion, and it was it was not a bad service, but we needed to turn the service around a little bit, and things were going great. One day I was out at uni, and I got a phone call from one of my staff, and I contacted them, and they said something serious has happened. And I was like, oh Lord, what is it? Someone set off the fire alarm, or is it a house related issue? And it was that one of the service users had stabbed another service user multiple times, and it was a fatality. And I just kind of panicked, got to the service, calmed everybody down, dealt with the police, made sure my staff were okay. The scenery was something like out of a murder, out of a horror movie. It was just, I don't want to go into the gory details, but it was horrific.
Yeah, there's 7 o'clock and some children might be watching, so we won't go into it.
It wasn't great, but the upside of that is dealing with all of that, I neglected myself. And I was so busy looking after my service, attending panels, attending different interviews and investigations and all of that lot, that I forgot to care for myself. And I forgot to kind of, stop for a second and say, how did seeing that image affect me? We have something called imagery psychosis, which is when you see something that has upset you in the past, like if you're unfortunate enough to come across someone that's passed away, and the image of that can stay on your brain and things like that. So I became unwell, and I didn't realize it until unfortunately I suffered a miscarriage. And I didn't know, I was in my marriage, very happy, and I didn't realize. And the thought that had happened to me was like, whoa, that just sent me into depression, because, I want my child. If I'd known I was pregnant, I would have slowed down. I didn't look after myself. I blamed myself. And that sent me into my first real clinical depression, where it was noticeable. I wasn't going out, drawing the curtains. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I didn't want to go to work. And so not reaching out during those times, that's what kind of was the onset of it, was that breakdown. And that's where I realized that actually, no, it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to reach out. It's okay to, people don't want to admit that they take medication if they've got depression. Oh, I'm depressed, I don't want to take medication. Oh, I'm a woman of faith. Why should I? God will do it. And you kind of have to weigh everything up. And I just want to reach out to anybody out there who is struggling with whatever you're struggling with. The worst thing to do is to lie to yourself and think that you've got this. And, even when you say you've got this and you have, still speak to somebody, because you never know when that resource that you have that's keeping you going will run thin, and you need that person that understands what's going on for you, that doesn't just see the smile or the makeup or the girl that looks good and is, schooling everyone else, but they can reach out. You can reach out to them and they can reach out to you.
Right.
So yeah, that was my first.
Right. Thank you so much for sharing that with us, Mercy. But it's heartbreaking. I don't even know what to say. I don't know how you've done it, and you're still like, the most amazing woman I've ever met. And like you say, you said sometimes we put the smile on, don't we?
Humbled.
But
yeah.
I just wanted to kind of take us back to, how is dyslexia and mental health kind of connected, for example, and how do we look after our mental well-being being dyslexics?
So dyslexia is something that affects, and sometimes the people around you. I wasn't sharing a joke, but I told my son off because he's like, "Oh, mom, how come you can make a joke about being dyslexic and I can't?" I'm like, it's the same. When you have something, you're not allowed. You don't want to hear other people saying it. Oh, that's her dyslexia. Oh, you left this here, mom, and you forgot. Oh, that's your dyslexia. Oh, mom, do you realize that you didn't do this? Oh, that's your dyslexia. I'm like, stop blaming everything on my dyslexia. I can do it, but you can't do it, because it kind of makes you feel a certain way, doesn't it? When all they see is your dyslexia. But growing up, I made so many mistakes in terms of the way in which I learn. And and I know that definitely within my household, there's always this emphasis to do well academically. And when you're not even up to today, like my mom's over the moon because, she's back in uni. It's like she's still waiting for me to achieve this degree. Love you, mama. But yeah, there's this kind of emphasis on being academic, isn't there? And so I always struggled with that. And then in my place of work, I always have to have a certain way in which I do things. If any of my ex-colleagues and staff are watching, sorry. But again, the way in which it affected me is that things had to be done a certain way, because otherwise I wouldn't get the understanding of it. I could sit at a meeting and it's like, I'm not really picking up what they're saying. I need to take time off and just digest what's just been said. And so my processing can be a lot slower. When people are speaking to you, you're like, what did she just say? Did I get that right? And they continue to talk and you're still stuck on the last phrase or the last thing that we're talking about. So sometimes it can be very difficult. And because of that difficulty in terms of being able to express yourself, because you're, or not necessarily express yourself, but you're not able to grasp concepts all the time, or you're not able to do things the way other people understand it. It can give you a layer of not, for some people, lack of confidence, but also, you feel so challenged that actually, okay, I'm not even going to do that. I'm not even going to engage in that because that's just too hard, and I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear the negativity, and that was my challenge. My challenge was, okay, there's certain things I'm not going to do because I don't want to hear it, and I'm going to be either penalized because I don't understand. I sit in some board meetings, they're talking finance, and I'm like, oh, God,
yeah,
finance, like, really? Somebody, can you just take my brain away and deal with this lot, and then when it's done, bring my head back? And but I laugh about it, but meetings and stuff, it was really challenging for me to grasp the concept of things. And so that in itself, a lot of pressure there. And the way in which that affects your mental well-being is with any disability whatsoever. Like I said, when there is a stress or something that you're not coping with, it then develops into okay, I'm getting depressed about this. Like the person that doesn't have a limb, and they're struggling because they're not able to write, or they're not able to do the things that we do with our hands generally. They then develop this way of thinking, am I good enough? This is too much of a challenge for me. I'm not like everybody else. You then develop thought processes that are not helping you to cope with things. And so, that's where any kind of learning disability, any disability whatsoever, can have a major impact on your mental well-being. And you'll see that there are, I think the last I read, it was at least 80 to 90% of individuals with disabilities, physical and learning, have a mental health condition or illness or disability. So it's not something that you can just brush under the carpet and say, okay, well, I know this person and they're fine. You actually may not know what's going on for them under the surface of things. It might be a lot more than what you're seeing on the surface. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Now I'm just going to go to my producer and just see some of the comments that people have put up on all the different platforms that we stream on. So we're on Instagram, we're on Twitter,
Hey, everyone.
YouTube and Facebook. Let's just see some of the comments. Of course, we said hello to Helen. I think Vivian was so true. Now we know Vivian was featured in what's that program called now? I forgot the name of it. The Write-Off on Channel 4. And Vivian was one of the people that was featured on that program. And
well done.
She came to A2I Dyslexia. She recently found out she got dyslexia about 2 years ago.
Wow.
And what a relief it was for her to, really sort of come out and speak about her condition. And now she's doing really amazing stuff. She's gone for the help she needs and she really wants to thrive and go to great things.
Well done.
Yeah, and let's just have a look at some of the comments that have come up. So is that Khadija? Yes, Khadija.
Hi, Khadija. How are you?
Hi, Khadija. Thank you for joining us. Let's have a look. So interesting, Jill says. Now, Jill, I've known Jill for quite some time now.
Hi,
Khadija says, my heart goes out to you, girl, for sharing this information because we all have our own traumas when it comes down to our health or situations in our lives. And I think Khadija's 100% right. And this, we're speaking about it. And with your lived experience, many, many more people can get the help and support that they need.
Yeah.
Khadija, thank you for that. Augusta Siang, we all know Augusta.
Hi, Mama.
Hi, guys. And I think, again, to share the story publicly, it's like, wow, no, not my mercy. I would never have thought of that. But hey.
Exactly. And people, there's a whole backlash. I remember the first time I was speaking about domestic abuse, and anything that has, a stigma attached to it is something that is like, why are you talking about this? Do you know what people will be saying? And do you know what? People will talk and you're still going through your experience. Okay, so let me just reach out to all you who are worried about what people are going to say. People will talk and you're still going through your experience. People will talk and you're still feeling down, depressed, and you're not receiving the help that you need to get. People will talk. So the best thing you can do is make sure that you sort yourself out so that you can open your mouth and live your life. There's so many of us are hiding behind our cultures, our faith, our job titles, our roles. I mean, I've been in senior management for many years, and I don't hide the fact that sometimes I need a little bit of help. Sometimes I need someone to talk to. Sometimes I need to not be the person that everyone goes to. It's okay. It really, really, really is okay to reach out for help.
Of course.
And move on with your life. If COVID has done anything, it's taught us that, nobody's guaranteed tomorrow. And so we really do need to make the best and the most of what we have to hand, the resources that are here. There are people in countries that don't have all these resources to hand. There are a lot of resources out there.
Absolutely. Now, I think there are also a few more comments. I think it's so important to engage with our viewers. Harriet Tapia Anderson said, thanks for sharing, sis. Because you speak fluent English, people look at you in a funny way. When tell them you were dyslexic, and sometimes you were expected to look a certain way. I've had that all the time. I get people go, you don't look dyslexic. And I thought, how should a dyslexic look? And yeah, it is what it is. So Harriet Carrington said, with the right support where am I?
Someone who is dyslexic can go on to do so much.
So much, yeah. More of these talks will be so helpful, especially in these challenging times. COVID-19. I'm just going to come on to that.
That's my big sister.
Bless.
Sister, Harriet. Thanks, Hal.
God bless her. Now,
let me just say, she's also diagnosed with dyslexia. She was diagnosed quite late as well. And since she was diagnosed, she's been able to go to uni and become a nurse. And she's there fighting the COVID. She's been on the COVID line. So can you imagine this individual who has been held back all this time? We don't talk about it in the family, and realizes that, actually, I can get help. And we'll be missing that individual in frontline services like nursing and things like that, just because we're not talking about it or just because we're not getting the right kind of help. So it really can shape what you achieve if you don't get the right support.
Absolutely. And I just wanted to say, when I was first diagnosed, I was in denial. I was like, I mean, Messi, you know me, you've known me. I used to be an announcer at the church. And
Uh-huh.
you would
I
never
would never have
guess.
known.
Exactly.
And your English, like, like your English is so polished.
You would never have guessed this. You would never have
Yeah.
guessed this, Messi,
No,
until I came off that stage and thought, oh, did I pronounce certain words right? The anxiety and the panic and the fear.
How did you do that? How did you do that? How did you? Because for us, people who do have dyslexia, some are really good at reading out loud. I'm cool with reading out loud, and I think I've just developed that over the years. I was really fortunate at school to have a teacher, and I loved English, but to have a teacher who would encourage me to do acting and drama and so forth, and with that comes reading out loud. So for me, that isn't so much of a challenge, but I do get my words jumbled up, and I do find it difficult to remember particular words. So I do association. So, you know, if I couldn't remember the word complicated, I think, oh, it's to do with difficult. It's to do with something that's mumbled up. I can't think of the word complicated. You know, so there are those challenges. But how did you do it? Like announcing, reading aloud in front of the whole congregation. How did you do it?
Okay. It took a lot of practice. I had to make sure that I kept repeating it and I kept going over it, and I wrote them in my language, in the way I wanted to write them. And then, you know, sometimes I would remember what the person looks like or what the announcement was about by identifying them with maybe what they were wearing or the color of their hair. And it was all imagery, and it was
association.
And so strategies. Don't ask me how I did it, but I did it. I made a lot of mistakes, but no one would have known at the time.
Yeah, but you just said how you did it. You did it your way. You did it how it would work for you, and that's a key message. Like in whatever you're doing, sometimes you don't follow fashion. Sometimes you don't follow suit. Sometimes you need to do you and work it the way you need to work it to achieve the goal you can. And I remember you said at one of your talks, I think it was either 2 weeks ago, that you said, you know, if you're given a task, if you're in the workplace, you know, they will say, this is what needs to be done. And they will explain a way for you to do it. And you'll be like, listen, don't tell me about that way. Just know that the task is going to get done.
Absolutely.
I'll do it. I'll get it done, but I'll get it done my way. And it's going to be fantastic. That's all you need to know. And that is very much it. You know, when I'm talking, I have all these wonderful dynamic ideas and concepts, and I can come up with so much. And when I'm talking, it just all comes out. And if you ask me to just repeat what I just said, that was so great. Like within seconds, like, Mercy, what did you just say? I'd be like, you need to be writing it down because I don't remember.
Absolutely. Let's just go back to our viewers and see some of the comments that our viewers have put up. If our producer can kind of show us that. So Khadija just said dyslexia does not have a look. You see how I'm struggling? Have to look. It is about the mind and how we do things. That's when you can know if a person has got dyslexia or not. My dyslexia exhibits in every shape or form, in every way. I wouldn't just say in a classroom. The way my driving, directions, when someone says something to me, when I have to do something, my children always say, why do we have to always keep repeating it? I haven't got it the first time round. And then I've mastered it and then I've forgotten it. So it affects my life. I'm not going to sit here and say it's just in a classroom, because it's not just in a classroom.
And it can be really impacting, because if you have people around you that don't get it, then it's like, I mean, I've developed tools. So one of my tools is keeping things the same. So if I keep it the same, then I don't have to struggle to remember what to think about it. And that has somewhat developed a bit of an OCD. And OCD, for those who don't know, is obsessive compulsive disorder. So someone that does a routine thing excessively, too much, overly. Some people, it's hand washing, they'll wash their hands. And that can be seen as a mental health, that is a mental health disorder. And so for me, you know, things have to be the right way. Things have to be in the right place all the time. It has to be a certain way in terms of the way it's done or developed, because I don't want to give my dyslexic brain too much work. So let's keep it simple how I understand. Since you understand a lot of things, do it my way. so it's easier for me, you know.
Absolutely.
And we'll get the result.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Mercy. Now, I just want to move on to our next question because today's show, I mean, normally our show's for 45 minutes, but it looks like we might just go over by maybe 10 minutes or so. The only reason why I say that, because I really want to have the strategies, or let our viewers have some kind of strategies of how we deal with our mental well-being. What are some of the things that will help us with mental well-being, particularly during this COVID-19? What are some of the things we should do?
we within the mental health field, we talk about coping strategies, okay, so or tools, coping tools, and we have things called well-being plans. So for people who find that they can sometimes regularly become unwell, it's really useful to have a well-being plan. And all that is a plan where you write down, if I become unwell to the extent that I cannot communicate, or I'm not doing things that we would deem as normal, this is what I would like you to do. I'd like you to play gospel music around me all the time. I'd like you to insist that I go for a walk. I'd like you to. So that's one thing. That's almost like a saving sort of tool. So for someone else to do, but actually it's your wishes. You know, it works for me when you prepare a certain meal for me because it makes me think of the good times. So I would really urge people who do have reoccurring spouts of depression or unwellness, where they're at the extent where they can't do for themselves. When you are in a good state of mind, have a wellness or a well-being plan, and I'll be happy for us to share the links to some templates at the end of the show or on A2I's page. To have a wellness plan, it's a really good tool to have. Sit down and write down what you'd like when you're not feeling well, and think about all the things that make you feel good, and the things that, you know, the people that you want to contact, and the people that you trust. So that's one thing. The other thing I would say, which is really useful, is, and I know it sounds very generic, but find out what works for you. You know, one of my tools is my music. I love music. I love to sing. I sang in the choir and lead sing and things like that. That lifts my spirits. That makes me feel good. I put on music that inspires me, that makes me feel good about myself. I'll put other music on. I'll start dancing, and it may seem like it's nothing, but the more and more you do those kind of feel good factors, you're kind of ensuring that you're building up more good endorphins. You know, you're the happy hormone that makes you feel good about yourself. And that's what you need to do. You need to produce more endorphins. For some people, it's being able to exercise. And now I know that with lockdown, you know, some people have enjoyed that exercising outside, but because of lockdown, they're not able to do that. But thank goodness we do have the internet. There are lots of different things that you can do in terms of exercise. I'll shout out to my sister, Alice, who's Alizé Thickness, and she's does this kind of group where they put on soca music and everybody has to dance and different Afro beats, and it doesn't have to be boring. It doesn't have to be drag. You can make it as fun as you want it to be. You know, if you've got children or a child, get them involved. You know, let's put on the music, let's dance. That's exercise. It makes you feel good. Doing things that make you feel good, believe it or not, actually has a massive impact on your long-term ability to be able to feel good. So when you feel like you're getting down a bit, if you're able to just reach out to the music that makes you feel inspirational, reach out to the music that makes you get up and dance. You know, there's some songs, there's some beats out there that even when you're not feeling great and you hit that beat, it's like, oh, and you start dancing, it's like, hey, you're feeling it, and you know the beat's coming, some more moves come. It's like you slowly you get into the groove of things. There's some songs that have that impact. Get them on when you're not feeling too great. It will make a difference. Other coping strategies. So for other people, it's useful to be able to talk. So in terms of clinical support, there's talking therapy, and there's various types of talking therapy. So we have CBT, cognitive, and cognitive is the way in which your mind works. So cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, looks at why you're thinking the way you're thinking. So they talk you through your thought processes. So if today I say I'm feeling depressed or suicidal, okay, let's talk about what's happened to make you feel that way. What things can you change? What things can you not change? Okay, so let's talk again about how you feel. Okay, how do you move from that place to this place? They may do things like mindfulness, and this is going into a bit of the CBT and things. Mindfulness is another thing that someone might call meditation. But with mindfulness, what you do is you take yourself to a happy place in your mind, in your head. So you think about that last holiday that you went on, that, you was with all your family and you're on the beach and, you had a good time. Or you think about when your child looked at you and smiled and that made you smile. You close your eyes and you take yourself to that happy place. And that works. I mean, as people of color, sometimes we disregard some of these things. I remember first time I spoke to a sister of mine, and I was telling her about mindfulness. She was like, bang, what is it? You do what? Close your eyes, take yourself to, my friend, that kind of stuff doesn't work for me. But if you have a closed mind to certain things, then these things are not going to work for you. So it is about, if you're continually getting depressed and all the things you've tried, i.e. staying home, doing nothing, doesn't work, then you may need to try something different.
Of course, yeah, of course. Thank you for that, Mercy. And we will put up all this sort of strategies and support that there is available for people to kind of overcome their mental health, and as well as, support for dyslexia and so forth. Just before we go, I wanted to talk to you about, or wanted to have a little bit of a conversation here about the church and mental health. And for example, a learning difficulty or learning difference like dyslexia, and how, for example, if some of us are going through challenges, we'll be told, let's go and pray about it, and miracles will happen. I am a Christian and I know that prayer moves mountains, but not everything is that we're going to just kneel down and pray and hope that it will disappear. And that's why I wanted to speak to you about faith and church and something like mental health. What sort of advice would you give to anyone who's watching, no matter what faith they come from, whether they're from a Christian community or Jewish community or a Muslim community? What advice would you give in terms of religion or church and mental health?
I mean, every religion has an element of, and this is across board, of, your whoever it is that you're serving is able to do all things, is, able to be there for you. My Christian faith tells me that, yes, we have a God, and we have Jesus, and he died for us, for our sins, for our sicknesses, for our illnesses, all of that. At the same time, he's given wisdom to man. And, the very same word says faith without works is dead. So you can have faith in something, but if you don't put things to work, if you don't action certain things, it's not going to happen. So for some of us, we actually need to just stop sitting on our hands and praying, and behind the prayers, do what goes along with it. Okay, so definitely, I have this discussion with a lot of Christians all the time, and this element of even if it's not just dyslexia, other illnesses, I believe definitely, but have faith. I'm a testament that medical, clinical illnesses, you can be diagnosed with something, but yet still the outcome can still be the miracle that you're waiting for. I have 3 beautiful children, and I'm someone who was told couldn't have children. I'm dyslexic, and predominantly we're not in mainstream places of work where you're managing other people and you've got bosses above you, because we mostly as dyslexic people are entrepreneurs, because we find it very hard to work in other environments because of the way it's so fast paced and things like that, until we've developed the tools to be able to function in those environments. So it doesn't mean that you don't believe, but actually you believe that he's able to make a way. You believe that he's going to get you through. He doesn't say that he will take it all away, but he says he will see you through. And that may mean getting support from individuals who have the knowledge that you do not have, who have the experience that you do not have. So I really urge all those that are of faith, get help. There's nothing wrong with it. Pray your prayers. Pray that God gives you the right person to meet your needs. Pray that God, brings the right people your way who are of faith as well, and are able to kind of show you the balance between medication and your belief. Sometimes it works hand in hand as well. So don't shy away from getting help and getting support just because you're a person of faith. In actual fact, it takes faith to be able to even go out there and get the help that you need. That would be helping yourself. That would be, you testifying to those people that you meet. I'm a woman of faith, but I've been through this and that. And, God brought this professional my way. And because of that professional that God brought my way, I'm now able to speak in front of many people in the church. I'm now able to use the tools that I have. I use Post-its, and I don't feel that I can't go through anything, because actually I've learnt tools, I've done the work, I've put in the faith with my works, and now I feel alive. So definitely don't use use your religion or your faith as something to, hide away or not do anything.
Of course, yeah. Thank you so much for that. But I just wanted to have a look at some of the comments that our viewers have put up just before we round up. We are a little bit, I think we're 10 minutes late in finishing, but it was such a important questions that we had to ask. Khadija again, she said, exercise is one of the things that I find helps me, but during lockdown, due to the fact that I have asthma, I won't use that word live.
Yeah.
And didn't want to exercise because it affects my asthma. Yeah, of course, she's got a medical condition and it does affect asthma. So we've got Harrison who says, how can you get tested to see if one have dyslexia or not? A2I Dyslexia do assessments. Currently, I forgot to actually mention this, and every week I forget to mention it. We have been funded by an organization called Black Thrive, who have given us money to give free dyslexia assessment to anyone who lives in Lambeth. So Harrison, if you live in Lambeth, you can get free dyslexia assessment. You do have to come on our sessions that we run, and that's till August, and it's once a month that we run these sessions, and you can get a free dyslexia assessment. However, we do dyslexia assessment, and as well as many other organizations. I don't know where you're living at the moment, Harrison, but around, in UK in general, you can get support if you Google it.
And also people don't realize that, if you're in a workplace, a lot of individuals are in a place of work. If you're in a workplace, you can go through the access to work and see if you can get support with your dyslexia within your workplace. They will help financially to provide tools for you to be able to work effectively. Again, if you're in uni, part of your bursary or part of your funding also helps towards your dyslexia assessment. So although you get that, you may have to pay for it on the onset, they will give that back to you once you've done your assessment and it's proven that you do have dyslexia. So there is lots of different avenues, and I'm sure Elizabeth will testify to that as well.
Of course, yes. Harrison, thank you for that information, a question that you asked. I think there's a few more to go through. Fia Madeline, is that Madeline? Is that how you say it? Yes. Loving this chat, so helpful. Thank you so much, Fia, for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. If there's any more, Alison Casey, I like going to church, meet people, and that's from Alison. Yeah. Wonderful, Alison. Thank you for that. It is amazing. It's a great place to kind of connect with people. Thank you for that. Khadija says, if there is any more at all, our producer would be more than happy to read them out. If there isn't, of course, we will get back to everybody individually to answer your questions live on all the different platforms that we're on. Now, Mercy, what's the final thing you'd like to say to our viewers? Just give me 2 tips of how we move forward with mental health, with dyslexia and mental well-being during these unprecedented times. Can't say that word. And how do we cope? Just sum it up for me, and then of course we'll bring the show to an end. 2 tips.
2 tips. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to talk about it. Find your person. It's really important to find at least one person that you can confide in, one person that knows your relapse. So within mental health, we have something that we call the relapse indicators. So when you're becoming unwell, things that you may do that looks familiar. Oh, she's starting to become unwell. Someone that knows that about you, because you may not be in the position to say, I need help. Sometimes you are so down that you're not in a position to say that. So if you find that one person that knows you, definitely use them. Let them know that you're struggling. Let them know you. I'd say that is a massive tip, and that has helped me, having my go-to people, even when I don't want to go to them. And secondly, use the resources. They're all around you. Open your eyes. It's everywhere. You see it on TV. I think BBC One recently did a mental well-being toolkit that you can find on their website. It has lots of different links as well. Be mindful of YouTube, but reputable sources, use them. Speak to your GP. I can't say this enough in terms of your dyslexia and your mental health. Speak to your GP. If they're not, coming forth well, ask for another GP. they are an excellent source to go to, because they have resources that people are not aware about. So go to them and say, I'm having a problem with my mental well-being or with my dyslexia, and they are able to signpost you and make referrals to so many different sources. Go to your GP and speak about it to them as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mercy. It's been amazing having you on A2I Dyslexia live show, all things dyslexia. This program, we talk about all things. And when I say all things, that's all things. And mental well-being is so important, really, really important. And I know that for me, with all the challenges I've been through with the depression, with the anxiety, with the low moods, with like, I can't even begin to go through them. And the place I could go to was my GP. And I did get the help. And I just wanted to echo that. It's you know, it's somewhere that nobody's going to judge you, you know. Because I know that within our community, particularly within my community, people say, oh look, it's okay, you know, I went through this and I managed to survive. At least your trouble isn't as bad as mine. And you think, really, how do you measure your survival? You know, we get that a lot, don't we?
I mean, that's something I talk about in when I do my actual workshops, my mental health wellbeing workshops, the do's and don'ts. Those are things that you just don't say to people who are down, or there are things that you just don't say to people who are struggling with their learning disability or the condition. And unfortunately, some people say things and they don't realize it, you know, you know, it is well, you know, God will do it. Sometimes it doesn't help. You need physical support. You need the you know, signposting. You need the person that's going to hold your hand and really let you know, rather than just the words. You know, you don't want the sympathy or the empathy sometimes, but sometimes you need somebody that's going to action and support you.
Of course, yeah. Thank you so much, Mercy. We have gone over 15 minutes of our program. The reason why that is because I just couldn't stop there. I just thought there's so much information that Mercy could share with us. So let me apologize to our viewers. We've gone a little bit longer than usual. Mercy, have you recently got any events happening, or have you got any workshops that you're running on mental well-being?
Yeah, so I've been putting myself out there a little bit to facilitate mental health awareness workshops for BME groups, and not just BME groups, but any groups that would want them within your Zoom meetings, or even come on board to do them, just because I think we do need more awareness about it. And that goes into a bit more detail about mental health generally, and also learning disabilities, and usually they're very bespoke. So you are able to kind of say, you know, can you focus on depression? Can you focus on common mental health illnesses? Can you focus on whatever it is you want the focus to be on? Some people want it to be about young people, because that's when mental health actually starts developing in your adolescence. And so where you might see a troublesome teen, actually, they may not be troublesome. They may be going through their first episode of mental health. And so it's really important to be able to identify that as well. So yeah, just hit me up. I'm doing lots of different things.
Excellent.
Now COVID is slowly being lifted, I'm hoping to get out there, attend events, and you know, let's get moving again. Let's get moving again.
Of course, and I mean, we will share it as well on our platforms, all the different things that you're doing. Let us know when we can share it on A2I Dyslexia social media. Now, just before I forget, we are also having an event on the 25th of March. It is a live event. You can get your ticket from Eventbrite. It's called Black and Dyslexia, a Conversation. And Mercy is one of the panelists who will be speaking at that event. If you Google Eventbrite, it'll all come up. And please do book your ticket. Do come along and get some of the knowledge that we need. I just want to say thank you so much, Mercy.
Thank you. Thank you.
Apologies to our
Thank
viewers.
you, viewers. Thank you all for coming in, all those that I know. Yeah, really appreciate it.
Wonderful. This brings me to the end of our show. Thank everybody. See you next week. Same time, same place. Bye for now.